It's not your life, Dad. It's mine. Why can't you understand that, goddammit? How many people are thinking, an hour and 20 of this, I'm going to blow my brains out? I'm fucking with you. Come on, that's not the show. Please, please. I would never do that to you. Please. This is the show. Just me talking. That's it. So relax. Okay, thanks for coming. Quick announcement. If everybody can make sure your cell phones are turned on. I know a lot of you have important friends. This could be an excellent networking opportunity for me. I'm at Jon Ross's one-man show. It's fabulous. All right, without further ado, prologue. I always assumed one day I'd get married and have kids. At least I figured ideally that's how things would work out. But when my 40th birthday came and went, and I was still single, and my career was, all right, I was making $150 a week at the Moose Lodge. I had to accept that maybe that's not the way it was going to go. But then, in pretty short order, I met my wife, I got married, and we had a kid. And my wife and my kid are the two joys of my life, blah, blah, blah. But suddenly, certain questions had to be answered that I thought I had dodged. Namely, what was I going to do about religion vis-a-vis my kid? I was raised Jewish. My wife was raised Unitarian. And please don't tell her, but I still don't know what the hell that means. She starts promoting the idea that we join one of the local Reform synagogues in the area. What? No. I really did not want to do that, not just because they wanted $1,200 a year for us to join, though I'm fairly confident I could have Jewed them down a little bit. The other question that was concurrently vexing us was whether we'd have more than one kid. My wife and I still go back and forth on that. I suppose if we were serious, we'd go in and out on it. Good news, that's the worst joke in the show, and it's over. The show, I mean, get out! But when you're thinking about it, always out there is this idea that you somehow owe it to your kid to have more than one. That if you don't give them a sibling, you're depriving them of something absolutely critical and essential that they have to have. There's always somebody to say, even if they're not that close growing up, later in life, they'll always have a special bond and connection. I'm not sure that's necessarily true. Act 1. My dad had, and still has, a loud, booming voice, on top of which he tends to yell everything he says. Like, Gloria, what the hell is this, chicken? Or, what do you want, a punch in the nose? It's raining outside. That in response to my mother saying, Alvin, do you remember that dance class we took at the community center that was taught by that nice couple? What do you want, a punch in the nose? It's raining outside. I know, don't even try. There's yelling, and then there was yelling. The real yelling was reserved for my brother, Eric, though everyone called him Ricky. In 1971, Ricky was 16 years old, a junior in high school, and he had long hair. And that's when having long hair meant something, goddammit. More than just it took a long time for your hair to dry. He had a big American flag pinned to the wall of our bedroom, rendered ironic by the posters on either side of Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, and Simon and Garfunkel. No, Ricky was a rebel. Tall and lean and 5 years older than me, I was probably 8 or 9 when I concluded that he and my younger sister Sarah, who was 3 years younger than me, and he were of a type, and that me and my older sister Stephanie, who was 3 years older than him, were of another. And it wasn't just that we'd inherited the familial genes that made us a little less tall and a little less lean. It was a sensibility thing, too. Still, Ricky and I were very close, and we shared a bedroom. I idolized him, and we spent a lot of time mixing it up, laughing and roughhousing and driving my father crazy with all the noise. What's all the tummeling? Stop with the constant tummeling! Now you're asking, what's tummeling? Not tumbling, tummeling. It's Yiddish. Tummel means noise or commotion. Tumblers were actually a kind of an act in the Catskills. A lot of very famous comedians got started as tumblers. Mel Brooks, Danny Kaye, Buddy Hackett. They were part jester, part social director. The entire hotel was their stage, and they worked from morning till night, tumbling with the guests. Yiddish was the language my grandparents spoke, And my parents spoke to my grandparents and to each other when they didn't want the kids to know what they were saying. And when my dad needed to express something that he had no other way. Like, that guy could kiss mir tuchas rein, which means he could kiss my ass inside. That's Yiddish. Or stop with the constant tumbling. When we weren't tumbling, Ricky and I were playing sports. And as our body types, and perhaps also our dispositions would dictate, my predilection was for baseball, and Ricky's was for basketball. Tall and lean, fast and agile, he had a quick release and a sweet J. He played on his high school team. In fact, he was the only white guy on his team. We grew up in Long Branch, New Jersey. It was on the Jersey Shore, just north of Asbury Park. And in the early 70s, Long Branch was the site of a lot of very serious race riots. And I think in that crucible, Ricky grew closer to his black friends on the team. One in particular, Ernie, who was the star of the team, a year older than him. And certainly his friendship with them brought him closer to those riots than he otherwise would have been. And while I'm sure those kids had some appreciation for the historic, socio-political, and cultural ramifications of those riots, mostly they were an excuse to stay out all night and get high. Around that time, my dad used to yell, lecture Ricky after dinner every night, it seemed, for hours. You're a piece of dreck! Your whole life's going to be dreck! Dreck's the Yiddish word for shit, right? We all know that one, right? It wasn't so much the staying out all night and the partying as it was the shitty grades and you know, the misbehavior in school. I'd sit at the bottom of the steps in the dark and listen, because sometimes my name would come up. You're a bad influence on John. He's a good kid. I was a good kid, sort of. I was identified early as a particularly bright, artistic child. That's artistic with an R, for those of you. In the 4th grade, my teacher, Mrs. Welcome, God bless her, she recognized that I was such a formidable class clown. Because that's the thing, I drove all my teachers absolutely batshit with my monkey business and tomfoolery and shenanigans, buffoonery, and hijinks. I was a 5-tool player. She knew she couldn't compete with me for the class's attention. Her solution was so brilliant. She took 2 of those things, you know, they're bulletin boards on one side and a blackboard on the other, and they're on wheels. She took 2 of them and she put them in the corner and put my desk back there, sequestered away from the rest of the class. But what was brilliant was her explanation for why. She said, I was so important that I was president of the class and as such required my own office. But what was astonishing was her commitment to this bit. She always referred to me as Mr. President, like, Mr. President, could you continue reading on page 7, please? What did you get for problem 5, Mr. President? And it wasn't like anybody was fooled. It wasn't like there was some kid going, wait a minute, I didn't vote for him. I don't even know what his stance is on dodgeball versus Foursquare.